Dividing Fractions Part 2. In this video, we are going to take the notes that we got in the first video and we are going to use them to solve some problems. So make sure you've got your notes and let's get started. Our first problem is 1/2 divided by 3/8. To do this problem, we need to remember our steps, K, C, and F. Keep, change, and flip. So I want to remember my 3 steps. Keep, change, and flip. All right? So I'm going to keep my first fraction the same, 1/2. I'm going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and I am going to flip 3/8 so that I am multiplying by the reciprocal. All right, so my problem has now turned into a multiplication problem. 1/2 divided by 3/8 is 1/2 times 8/3. Now we just multiply our fractions like we learned to yesterday. So I'm going to create my diagonals. And as I look at my diagonals, I can simplify. I can cross simplify. So let's go ahead and look. Can 1 or 3 go into both 1 and 3? Well, yes. 1 can go into both 1 and 3, but that's not going to change my numbers. So that stays a 1 and this stays a 3. Now I look at my 8 and my 2. Is there anything that can go into both 8 and 2? Yes. 2 can go into both 8 and 2. 2 can go into 2 1 time, and 2 can go into 8 4 times. So now I'll go ahead and multiply straight across. 1 times 4 gives me 4, and 1 times 3 gives me 3. So my answer is an improper fraction, and I need to turn that into a mixed number. To do this, I'll simply divide. 4 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4 1 time. 4 minus 3 equals 1, and I have a remainder of 1. So I can write this as a mixed number 1 and 1/3. So we will write 1 and 1/3, and that is our answer to problem number 1. Let's go ahead and try problem number 2. I have 2 mixed numbers here, so that means my first step is to change those mixed numbers to improper fractions. To do that, I multiply the denominator by the whole, so 4 times 3, and then I add the numerator. 4 times 3 is 12, and then we have 12 plus 3 is 15, and I'm going to keep the same denominator. So 15/4 divided by 5 and 5/8. So I'm going to use the same process. 8 times 5 gives me 40. 40 plus 5 gives me 45. So my real problem here is 15/4 divided by 45/8. And I'm going to use my KCF method. Keep, change, and flip. What I'm going to keep is the first fraction. That will remain the same, 15/4. The change, I'm going to change my division sign to a multiplication sign. And then flip, I'm going to use the reciprocal of 45/8, which means I'm going to flip it upside down and I'm going to have 8/45. So now we're going to look at our diagonals, and we're going to see if there's anything that we can simplify. Is there anything that goes into both 15 and 45? Yes, in fact, 15 goes into both 15 and 45. 15 goes into 15 1 time. 15 goes into 45 3 times. Now I'll look at my pink diagonal. Is there anything that goes into both 8 and 4? Yes. 4 goes into 4 1 time, and it goes into 8 2 times. Now that I've simplified, I can multiply across. 1 times 2 gives me 2. 1 times 3 gives me 3. So my answer is 2/3. Let's look at number 3. Number 3, we've got a mixed number divided by a whole number. So I need to convert that mixed number into an improper fraction. So 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20, and I keep the same denominator, 20/3, divided by 8. Now, when I have that 8, I'm going to go ahead and write it in fraction form, which is 8/1. So my problem here is 20/3 divided by 8/1. Now, we need to go ahead and set up our problem with the KCF method. Keep, change, flip. So what am I going to keep in this problem? If you said 20/3, my first fraction, that is correct. What am I going to change in this problem? If you said I need to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, great job. And then last but not least, I need to flip something. And that something is that last fraction. So I'm going to write the reciprocal of 8/1, which is 1/8. I want you to go ahead and try solving this on your own, which means you're going to look at your diagonals and simplify, cross-simplify, and then multiply straight across and get your answer. Once you've done that, I want you to press play. So go ahead and pause the video, and then when you are done, press play to check your answer. Alrighty, so you should have 5/6. Let's try one more before we tackle a word problem. 4 2/3 divided by 2 2/9. I want you to go ahead and do this one completely on your own. Change those mixed numbers to improper fractions and use the KCF model or method to do your work. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video, and when you are done, press play to check your work. Okay, so you can see from my work, I went ahead and used the KCF method. I kept my first fraction, changed the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then flipped 20/9 to its reciprocal to be 9/20. I looked at my diagonals and I cross-simplified, and then I multiplied straight across to get 21/10. But I can't leave my answer as an improper fraction, so I had to convert it to a mixed number. To do this, I divided 21 divided by 10. 10 goes into 21 2 whole times, and once that's done, there is 1/10 left over. So my answer is 2 1/10. Let's try a word problem. Each costume for the school show needs 3 1/3 yards of material. How many costumes can be made from a 30-yard bolt of material? First, I have to highlight my question. How many costumes can be made from a 30-yard bolt of material? Then I need to highlight or underline or circle any other important information, like 3 1/3 yards, and each costume, and 30 yards, a 30-yard bolt. So the total amount of fabric that they have, let's say this is Miss Kelly, and Miss Kelly has 30 yards of fabric, okay? We want to know, out of this 30 yards, how many times can you cut it into 3 1/3 pieces? So what we have to do here is divide, because it is asking us how many times 3 1/3 can go into 30. So our problem is 30 divided by 3 1/3. Now, our first step is to change the whole number into a fraction, and to do this, I'm going to write 30/1, And then we need to change that mixed number to an improper fraction. So I'll multiply 3 times 3 and get 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. So I have 10 thirds. Go ahead and pause the video and solve the rest on your own and press play to check your answer. Our answer is 9 costumes. Please make sure that you take some time to answer the summary questions in complete sentences. And then if you have any further questions, go ahead and put that in the blank titled Questions I Still Have and bring it to class tomorrow.